If you were sitting around thinking, God, I wish AV would explain Sims lore to me, today's your lucky day, because that's what we're doing. So I was on Twitter the other day and I saw that somebody posted something saying that a Sims movie was possibly going to be happening, and I was immediately intrigued because I didn't get to play Sims a lot as a child because I was very poor and didn't have a laptop or any of the Sims games, so my only Sims exposure was going to my cousin's house to play her Sims. So I'm not really well versed in Sims in general, and thus my first thought was, what could a Sims movie possibly be about? And it seemed a lot of other people in the replies had similar thoughts. However, seasoned Sim players seemed to think there was a lot that it could be about, and that piqued my interest. And I was like, I need to know every little bit of Sims lore that there could possibly be. I need my questions answered. And so I did spend literally 2 full days researching Sims lore. I took 18 pages front and back of notes. And then I thought, why not take you guys along on the journey? I love those like deep dive, almost video essay style videos, and I've never done one. I'm sorry, I'm simply never going to be able to pick a niche. I want to make videos about every little thing that I want to make videos about. I don't want to just make one kind of video all the time. That's boring. So I apologize. Let's get right into it, shall we? So if you don't know, The Sims is a series of video games, the first one being released in 2000. I was also released in 2000, so. But the thing that I discovered about the Sims game and their lore is that they are not linear. Like, the timeline isn't linear at all. The lore and the characters that span across these games does not go in release order. So if I were to draw you a little silly diagram of the timeline, it wouldn't be Sims, Sims 2, Sims 3, Sims 4 at all. Don't worry, we'll come back to this diagram. I drew it a little prematurely. So we actually start, our first game in the series is, oh my god, writing like this is hard. The Sims 3. There are multiple characters and families that we see in multiple games, if not all of them. I'm going to preface this by saying that while this is a deep dive, I'm definitely going to miss some things, and I'm not going to be deep diving. This is really just scratching the surface, to be honest. So if I miss things, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll cover more at a later date. Next in the timeline is the first released game, which is just titled The Sims. And these are approximately 25 years apart. This is really difficult. I wanted to do like a whole digital edited timeline situation, but I'm not that editing savvy yet, so if you're not a visual learner, just like close your eyes and listen to me speak. And the next game after that is The Sims 2, which is the second game released, as the 2 would suggest. And those are also approximately 25. Oh my god, I promise my penmanship isn't that bad, usually. It's just bad here, because you try writing like this. Anyway, so that makes all of the games like 50 years apart. Now there is a 4th game, however, it doesn't seem to fit anywhere in the timeline, leading people to believe that it actually exists in an alternate universe. Many of the reoccurring characters from the other games also appear in this game, but their stories and plot lines from the other games don't seem to have carried over into The Sims 4 at all, and a lot of the ages and all of that don't really match up to where they should be at that point in the timeline. Because of that, I'm only going to be focusing on games 1, 2, and 3. Which reminds me, there's lots of other games other than the main games, but again, today I'm just going to be focusing on the main games. Because if I went into all of the little ones, we'd be here all day. The wind is so loud, I'm so sorry. Rather than getting into the lore in order of release, we're going to be getting into the lore in order of timeline, chronological order. Which is why we're starting with Sims 3. In Sims 3, we are introduced to younger versions of characters that we see in previous games as adults. One of the main families in the game that appears in all of the games is the Goth family. The Goth family at this point in the timeline consists of Gunther Goth, his wife Cornelia Goth, and their son Mortimer Goth. A family called the Bachelor family is also a family we see in previous games, but in this game it consists of parents Simis and Jocasta Bachelor, and their children Bella Bachelor and Michael Bachelor. I'm not going to get into who these people are in previous games right now. If you play the games, you probably know, but We're acting as if we're meeting them for the first time in chronological order, for lore's sake. So I promise I'll get deeper into it. Another family that we see in this game is the Newby family, which at this point consists of Robert Newby, his wife Mags Newby, and their son, Bob Newby. Now the child, Bob, he's best friends with the neighbor girl who is the same age, and her name is Betty Simovich at this point in the game. In this game, we also see a young woman whose name is Agnes Crumplebottom, and she's this, like, young, hopeless romantic woman who actually was just widowed on her wedding night. We also meet the Landgrabs, which aren't very likable people. And this consists of Nancy Landgrab, who is like this business tycoon vice president of a business company type lady, co-vice president. And she's married to a man named Jeffrey, who took her last name, and together they have a child named Malcolm Landgrab. And Nancy and the Landgrabs are actually the wealthiest family. Her co-vice president is a man named Nick Alto, who is an evil sim, or at least his family consists of evil sims, so also not very likable people. He is married to Vita, and together they have a child named Holly, and they're in direct competition with the Landgrabs to be like the wealthiest family. That's like the quick overview of the people and where they're at in the Sims 3 game. Moving forward 25 years in the timeline brings us to The Sims. This would bring us to the first game released, so if you were playing the games in release order, this would have been your first introduction to all of these characters. So you play the tutorial to this game as Bob and Betty Newby, who are a married couple. While in Sims 3, you might notice that this was child Bob Newby and his best friend neighbor girl Betty Simovich. They are now married and the Newbys. And they're who you play the tutorial as for the game 1. In this game, we also see the Goth family, but they're also much different at this point in the timeline. Because now, head of family is Mortimer Goth, who was a child in Sims 3. His wife, Bella Goth, who you might know is Bella Bachelor from Sims 3. And together they have a daughter named Cassandra Goth, so this is the Goth household at this point in the timeline. You might remember Bella Bachelor had a brother, Michael Bachelor. He is also a playable character in this game. And obviously, he's an adult now too, but he's still single. You could say he's still a bachelor. Ha. Agnes Crumplebottom, the sweet, hopeless, romantic widow girl, is now a bitter, nasty old woman. And she will scold and beat Sims who show affection in PDA in public community spaces. Which is an extreme 180 from, like, hopeful romantic. I guess getting widowed will do that to you. We also meet a new family that wasn't in Sims 3. Well, they're not new if you're playing in release order, but if you're playing in chronological order, new. And that is the Pleasants, and they consist of parents Jeff and Diane Pleasant, and their children Daniel Pleasant and Jennifer Pleasant. You'll notice neither the Altos or the Landgrabs seem to make an appearance in this game, which leads you to believe that they all left town. Though the Landgrabs, like, business presence is still around, but being the wealthiest family, that makes sense. And it's not really explained where they went or why they left town, they're just gone. Also, as far as the bachelors go, the rest of the family, the parents, Jocasta and Simus, they seem to have died. Rest in peace. Forward another 25 years, bringing us to The Sims 2. In those 25 years, several more deaths, several more births, some new faces. The Sims 2 is arguably the most, like, lore and plot heavy, and it's where things start getting real cuckoo bananas bonkers. Real strange. At least as far as the main games go. Most notably upon load up, we find a difference in the Goth household. One of the main members is now missing. Bella Goth has vanished, disappeared. Wait for it. Been abducted by aliens. Aliens, yeah. Aliens are a prominent part of Sims 2. Another difference we see in the Goth household is that it seems that Mortimer and Bella, before her disappearance, seem to have had another child, and his name is Alexander Goth. Mortimer himself has reached elder status, but has also found himself in a relationship with a much younger woman named Dina Caliente, who, Dina, was married to Bella's brother Mortimer, who by this game has died. As is usually the case with younger women dating much older, wealthy men, she seems to be in it for all of the wrong reasons, and is actually having an affair with a man named Don Lothario, who is actually engaged to Mortimer and Bella's now adult daughter, Cassandra. But wait, there's more. Don Lothario isn't just seeing Cassandra and Dina Caliente. Oh no, he is also seeing Dina's twin sister, Nina Caliente. Busy man. Not only that, but apparently, Dina and Nina, the Caliente sisters, seem to have alien ancestry of some sort, which leads them to being high on the suspect list for Bella's disappearance. Who knew? If that family tree felt at all confusing to you, don't worry. I drew you a diagram. This is the Goth family tree. And I assume you can't see this, so I will just put a picture on the screen. Oh, Michael is now dead, so we'll cross him out. But that's Simus and Jocasta Bachelor gave birth to Michael and Bella Goth, right? And then Gunther and Cornelia Goth gave birth to Mortimer Goth, obviously. And then Bella and Mortimer got married, and they had 2 children, Alexander and Cassandra. Now, here's where things get a little bit sticky. Cassandra is now engaged to Don Lothario, and Mortimer is dating Dina Caliente. However, Don Lothario and Dina Caliente affair. And he is also seeing Nina Caliente, Dina's twin sister. And Dina was also married to Michael, who is now dead. Are you following? The Pleasant family has also seen some loss, as Jeff and Diane, the parents, seem to both be dead. However, their children, Daniel and Jennifer, are now adults and are very much alive. Jennifer and her husband, John, I think, aren't available as ready-to-play characters. They're in a purchasable add-on, so we're going to focus on Daniel, because that's not really, like, main game. We're focusing on Daniel. Daniel is married to a woman named Mary Sue, and they together have 2 twin daughters, Angela and Lilith. The names of the 2 daughters seem to be a play on the fact that they have, like, polar opposite personalities, because Angela, with Angel in the name, is, like, the sweetheart, nice one, and then Lilith, you know, like Lilith from Queen of Demons, that type of thing, she is the more rebellious twin. Back to Daniel and Mary Sue, because that is also a shit show. It seems that their marriage isn't so pleasant. Oh my god, Anna, you're so funny. Daniel is having an affair with the maid. Womp womp. Both Bob and Betty Newby are also dead at this point, but they seem to have mysteriously had a daughter at some point in all of this, and she is still alive, and her name is Brandy. Though, by the time we meet Brandy, she is already widowed. Her husband, Skip Broke, is dead, but they have 2 living children named Dustin and Beau. It also seems that she is currently actively pregnant with 3rd child at this point. Another death that took place in that 25-year gap is Agnes Crumplebottom, the mean old woman. However, we do still see her as a ghost in the graveyard. Aliens, ghosts. Speaking of aliens, they really rise to prominence in this game with the Smith family, who consists of alien-human hybrids. The family is headed by the father, Pollination Technician Number 9. That is his name. Because he is an alien and he was a pollination technician, which, don't think too hard about that because it's exactly what you think it is. He's retired though. And then his wife, Jenny, who is a human. And then their alien-human hybrid children, Johnny and Jill. And this family has taken on the last name Smith. Because, like, Pollination Technician Number 9 doesn't even have a first name, so he kind of had to pull a last name out of his ass. I don't know why they wouldn't just go with Jenny's last name, but, like... But wait, the alien weirdness doesn't actually end there. Not even a little bit. Next, we're gonna talk about the Curious family. That's their last name, but curious indeed. So the Curious family consists of 3 brothers, Pascal, Laszlo, and Vidkund. I'm not pronouncing that right, but how do you pronounce that? The brothers all have a shared love of science, and that's made abundantly clear. And it actually leads to Vidkund having the option to get abducted if you, like, the player tells him to use the telescope. When he does use the telescope, inevitably he does get abducted. And likely impregnated with an alien baby. And it's actually revealed that his brother, Pascal, has already previously been abducted and returned and is actively pregnant with alien baby child. And it's actually believed that the alien that impregnated our friend Pascal was none other than pollination technician number 9. Must have been before retirement. And we also find, do you remember Pollination Tech 9's wife, Jenny? She is the older sister of the Curious brothers. So Pascal was actually impregnated by his brother-in-law. I'm not drawing out that family tree. I'm so sorry. Along with aliens, Sims 2 also gave us ghosts, as I previously mentioned with Agnes Crumplebottom's ghost. And in this game, we meet the Spectres. They are living human. However, it consists of Olive Spectre, who's like this old woman, and her niece, Ophelia Spectre. And they live on a graveyard. It's in their backyard. And in said graveyard lives the ghosts of all of Olive's deceased ex-husbands. Why does she have so many deceased husbands, and why do they live in the graveyard in her backyard? Many questions, no answers. It can only really raise the question, did Olive kill these men? Or did she at least have something to do with why they died? Suspicious, for sure. But Olive's lore gets even crazier. It sure does. Granted, this next piece of lore does take place outside of the main games, but when I stumbled upon it, I couldn't not add it because it's really genuinely cuckoo bananas. I feel like it's too insane not to mention. And that is that Olive has a son, technically. However, he was taken away from her by social services previously. And the kicker is, it's at least theorized that the father of said child is none other than the Grim Reaper himself. So, because there's no listed father for him anywhere, and his birth wouldn't really have lined up with any of her dead spouses, and with the father not being listed and the Grim Reaper only being a character that appears when summoned, people think. Also, I don't know if it is confirmed, but I saw somewhere that it is confirmed that Olive and the Grim Reaper did in fact. Woohoo! But I don't know for sure that that's a thing that happened. However, there is still so much more to talk about. And like, I didn't really get deep into it. Again, this really only scratches the surface. And there are so many questions that I have left unanswered. Though I'm sure if I ventured outside of the main games, I could probably answer them for myself. And honestly, I probably will continue. I had no idea that The Sims had this much backstory. Or that any of it was this wild. I've had so much fun looking into it though. Like I said, I'm almost definitely going to continue looking into it and look into like the other games. But like I said, I spent 2 days gathering 18 pages of notes. I really have so many more questions. What really happened to Bella Goth? What really happened there? I could do a whole video on that probably. Maybe I will. I know I kind of clickbaited with the title calling this a deep dive, as it was not really a super deep dive. But I am still testing the waters with these kind of videos. I don't know. I don't want to make them super duper long and have people not really enjoy them. And, you know, so I'm still testing the waters. But likely, I will do more videos like this because I had a lot of fun doing this. I'm definitely almost going to make more Sims-related lore videos, but get more specific and more deep into certain specific parts. And then also, like, deep dives on some other stuff. Some other lore. But for right now, I think they have plenty to work with for the Sims movie, and I really hope they touch on most of these topics. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next Monday.